This is usually the time for the Saturday paper, but it's going to be different this morning because of something important that cropped up yesterday, and I'll tell you all about it after I tell you I'm Granniopteryx. Yesterday, GB News actually did journalism. I mean, real journalism. It wasn't just those fake controversies where someone like Piers Morgan puts a nutcase like that woman with the weird hair. I forget her name, but she frequently does it like someone emptied a plate of spaghetti over. That brought it back. Shola Shogbamimu. Mos Shogbamimu. Right. Okay. Yeah, there's nothing like word association, is there? Anyway, she happened, if you haven't heard of her before, I believe she's a Nigerian. You know, the guys who sold fellow Africans to European slave traders. And Shogbamimu has the cheek to shout at British people about slavery. Anyway, that's entirely beside the point. This wasn't one of those fake debates where someone like Morgan pits Shogbamimu against some poor sap from a university history department who hasn't yet learnt the politically correct line. And by the time we've finished, everyone's steaming mad and practically no one enjoyed themselves, but they like getting angry. No, Patrick Christy of GB News took Suella Braverman, the ex-Home Secretary, to Cambridge to talk to the demonstrators there. And they were all camped in their obviously provided tents provided by somebody. Christy and Braverman came across a phenomenon that had been noticed by Christy before because he'd been round these other encampments. He said he'd been to several of the demos and the same pattern had repeated itself every time. That is, almost all of the demonstrators, many of them masked, refused in any way to talk to him. And the ones who did want to talk were immediately silenced by their comrades. And I'm using that word deliberately. Or they were silenced by people who appeared to be in some sort of authority and appeared to be acting like shepherds. Christy came to the conclusion, first of all, that many of the demonstrators weren't students at all and they'd been brought in from elsewhere. And secondly, that the whole thing was being organised and he suspected it was a communist organisation of some sort. Well, I'd suggest that the organisation might be using the name communist to give itself an umbrella, but as I say in the video which will follow this, I believe it more likely to be a foreign government, not necessarily communist. It could be Russian, which is hardly communist, or Iranian, again, definitely not communist. It could be the Chinese, I suppose. They call themselves communist. You might define them that way if you really wanted to. Whatever, I'm pretty sure there's some political subversion going on. And I think that Christy found a really important story here. So he arranged an interview between Braverman and a woman called Fiona Lali, who has the title of National Campaigns Coordinator for the Revolutionary Communist Party, which I shall henceforth refer to as the RCP. I intended to edit the whole thing down to a sort of 10-minute dash through the exchange. But in the end, I just had to leave the whole thing in one piece because every second of it was important. But my take on it was not so much the politics as the blatant dishonesty of the RCP representative, Ms. Lali. The interview was about 18 minutes long, and I think my analysis is about 40 minutes long, much of it talking about the almost superhuman patience and politeness and quiet intelligence of Mrs. Braverman, as well as the dishonesty, deflection and boorishness of Miss Lali, whose principal form of argument was repeated insults. I mean, she was doing nothing but needle. She was trying to needle Mrs. Braverman again and again and again. Obviously, she wanted to irritate her into responding sharply so that then the argument will get deflected. It's the sort of thing a teenager does, of course. Anyone who's had teenagers knows that sort of argument. But teenagers are doing that because they're immature. They don't have enough information, so they're using that technique. This woman was mature, intelligent, and she was doing it deliberately. I honestly don't know how Braverman kept her cool, but I reckon she should be Foreign Secretary. Miss Lali is an intelligent person, no doubt about that, and she must know deep down how dishonest she's being. But, well, yeah, that sort of vicious mendacity can come only from a religious fervour that's taken her conscience hostage. Okay, so that's my introduction to the next video, which will be the interview. I'll do the paper as well today, but I'll put it out tomorrow. And so you get something on Sunday while I'm out riding. And until next time, which shouldn't be long, depending on how long it takes me to edit this. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.